I know they wanted this final episode to be a thriller, but did they really have to bring zombies into it? This is Vader Reviews. We are honored that you would join us as we discuss the season finale for Ahsoka, where all the characters are stupid and nothing really matters. And if it seems like I'm being a little snippy, it's because I just watched 8 episodes of a TV show, where if our heroes were removed from the story completely, fundamentally, nothing would have changed. If Ahsoka and Sabine hadn't been in the story at all, the bad guys would have still gotten the map to Thrawn, and he would have still returned. And what's worse, when it comes to Hera, all she accomplished was getting 2 of her pilots killed, while failing miserably to stop the bad guys from finding Thrawn. So really, the galaxy would have been better off if she hadn't been in the story. I mean, at the very least, those 2 rebel pilots that got turned into orange goo would be. Now, Dave Filoni said watching Ahsoka was going to be, quote, a religious experience. First of all, you can't say that about something you made. Other people have to say that about your creative endeavors. And second, if you're cocky enough to make that kind of a statement, showing zero humility, you better be able to back it up, fella. But all we got here was more of a commercial for a story they're going to tell us eventually, rather than a self-contained narrative. Because were you looking forward to finding out what was going on with Shin and Baylan? Well, too bad, because it's not explained. Looking forward to seeing Grand Admiral Thrawn be a tactical genius? Well, too bad, because he has all of the intellect of a blueberry Pop-Tart now. It's established the only reason Papa Smurf is hanging around is because he's still packing his Star Destroyer so they can't leave yet. But in the very first scene of this episode, he is informed by Witchy Poo that they've completed loading their cargo, so why doesn't he just leave? Or at the very least, dock with his hyperspace ring in orbit, so the good guys can't just run up the stairs into his Star Destroyer and foil his villainous plans. Also, his base is a giant tower with a spiral staircase, and it's established that every 20 feet or so there are these big blast doors. So why didn't Megamind here close those blast doors to slow them down? It doesn't take a tactical genius to know, if someone is invading your base, maybe you should shut the door. It's like a OD'd on stupid pills. But the good guys aren't much better, because after they fight their way through about 20 stormtroopers, the 3 witches from Hocus Pocus do a little magical mumbo-jumbo, and bring the troopers back as the Walking Dumb. Ahsoka and the other 3 stooges run from the zombies up the stairway, but why didn't they chop their arms and legs off? Take it from a guy who knows. It's pretty hard to get around when you don't have any legs. Maybe I'm expecting too much from my old Padawan, but dismembering zombies is the easiest way to escape from them. That is, if you have any brains. Now, obviously I wasn't exactly daffy about how they ended this episode, but there is a way they could have resolved this storyline that would have been more emotional, meaningful, and it would have set up the events of Heir to the Empire perfectly. Let me explain. Since Ezra's basically Dr. Doolittle and can talk to animals through the Force, when our 3 amigos arrive at Thrawn's Star Destroyer, Sabine could ask, "How are we gonna do this?" Ezra gets off his mount and begins walking up the hill towards the Star Destroyer. Ahsoka could tell him to take one of her lightsabers so he has a weapon. In this version, he hasn't built a new one, since last time he said he didn't need it because the Force was his ally. You know, that pesky continuity thing. Anyway, he could turn to her and say, "I don't need it." The Force theme swells as he calls upon all of the living creatures of the planet to aid them in battle. This would fall in line with George Lucas's vision of Star Wars, of the natural world defeating the mechanical, cold, evil world of the Empire. He could open his eyes and tell Sabine and Ahsoka to go stop Thrawn, as he brings all of the forces of nature to bear against his Star Destroyer. As the thrilling battle rages on, Thrawn could see it's Ezra causing all the trouble, and he could tell them to target that man with everything they have. The concussive force of all of the turbo laser blasts hitting so near Ezra could injure him severely, leaving him burned and unconscious on the ground, allowing Thrawn to escape. After they make the jump to hyperspace, we cut aboard Thrawn's Star Destroyer to establish that their engines have been damaged, so it will take them longer than anticipated to complete their return journey. When Sabine and Ahsoka get back to Ezra, we could have a little Wrath of Khan moment, as Ezra lays there dying, asking if the galaxy is safe. Sabine could not have the heart to tell him that Thrawn got away, and he could die thinking everything was alright. This would give Sabine an actual consequence for her actions. She could realize that if she had just destroyed the map when she was told to, Ezra would still be alive. This would give her an emotional burden to carry for her mistake, and once again fall in line with George Lucas's storytelling, that when you make the wrong choice out of selfish reasons, you lose what you were trying to save. Ahsoka could try to console her and tell her, "We'll find a way back home." Sabine could argue, "What's the point? We'll never get back in time to warn everyone." We ease in on Ahsoka and she says, "I know of a way." The Force theme swells, and we cut to my son, Luke Skywalker, practicing a lightsaber form. Suddenly, off-screen, you hear the voice of Hayden Christensen say, "Luke." He turns and says, "Father," like he did in Empire Strikes Back. Then we show the Force ghost of Anakin, and he could say, "Son, I've come to warn you. The New Republic is in grave danger. Grand Admiral Thrawn is alive, and he will be here soon." Luke says, "So that's what I've been sensing." We cut back to Anakin. "Tell your sister it's time she learned the ways of the Force. Together, we will begin her training." The music swells with Princess Leia's theme. We iris out to the credits, blowing everyone's mind because we're not only setting up Heir to the Empire, we're gonna get to see Hayden Christensen and Luke Skywalker train Leia to be a Jedi. That's how I would have ended it, at least. It's still a cliffhanger, but at least we're left with some genuine emotion and a promise of exciting things to come. But what did you think of Ahsoka? Did you love it or hate it? Comment below and let me know. This has been Vader Reviews, and always remember, you don't know the power of the dark side.